Now here's an interesting check. If I check if not a number equals not a number, what do you think we'll get? We actually get false. Now why is this the case? It clearly is the same, right? You would think like this, but actually there is a rule in JavaScript, and that rule simply says not a number is not like not a number. It's like that, it's a built-in rule. Therefore, if you check if both are not equal, you get true. As I said, a built-in JavaScript rule specifying this. Now, what do you think we'll get if I check if 0 equals null? Because remember, when we were doing calculations with null, it was treated like a 0. So since I'm not checking types, but only if the value is the same, we would expect to get true here, right? Well, let's see it. I get false. And the reason for this is another rule in JavaScript. Null can't be compared is the rule. You can't compare null. You can check if a variable is null in an if condition. As I said, null is treated like false then. But you can't compare anything to null. And that's just another built-in rule. Now, to make this even more confusing, what happens if I compare null to undefined? And I did this before, so maybe you were scratching your head already. Because here I get true. And that right after I said that null can't be compared. Well, that's an exception from the rule. Null can be compared to undefined. That's possible. That's the one exception. On the other hand, if I want to check if 0 is the same as undefined, what do you think I'll get here? I'll get false. The reason for this is that generally, and this is the last JavaScript rule I want to mention here, undefined compared to anything is always false except when comparing it to null. That is something you just have to keep in mind. Null can't be compared except with undefined, and undefined will always return false except for when comparing it with null. That are simply the exceptions here, but that are the general rules in JavaScript. And it's just important to keep this in mind. You probably won't compare any numbers with null that often, but it's important to know how all of that works behind the scenes and that you got those hard-coded rules, which probably won't affect your day-to-day programming life that often, but as I said, it's important to know.